Hello and welcome to the Arseholics. Thank you as always for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube, we'd really appreciate you hitting the thumbs up button. It really helps support the channel. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and share the Vodcast with any other Arsenal fans that you think would enjoy listening to us. How are we doing, guys?
Good. Start of the long weekend.
Indeed.
It is.
Can't complain.
End of the international break.
Yeah, proper football is back, which is good.
Proper football is back. Yeah. Thank God. How was your international break?
I didn't watch a single minute of football over the last 2 weeks. Well, I did see briefly Germany get beat by North Macedonia, which I thought was quite funny.
Have they always been North Macedonia out of interest? I'm sure they used to just be Macedonia.
Oh, mate, we're going to need a whole new podcast for that.
Google it up.
Yeah.
There's been lots of political country stuff over this international break. Did you see the whole Kosovo thing?
With the Spanish journalists?
Yeah.
Got angry at him. Yeah.
That was really interesting.
Quite a lot of teams obviously protesting against the whole Qatar World Cup as well. Wearing that t-shirt and stuff.
Yeah, barely protesting, right?
Yeah, barely protesting.
Protesting by qualifying for the same tournament.
Yeah. Exactly. That's why Germany lost on purpose, didn't they? They don't want to qualify for
it. Proper football is back finally. We're playing Liverpool. Huge game on Saturday night, 8 p.m. Moved actually, wasn't it, from Sunday? So big Saturday night for us. So I guess if we have a chat about, obviously a number of players did go away on international break. A few of them played quite a lot. We're not sure about a couple of them though, that Saka obviously pulled out from the squad, from the England squad before they even played a game, and ESR as well apparently pulled out from the under-21s. Both of them look like doubts, which could be big losses for us, but sort of initial thoughts on teams and, how do you think Arteta's going to play this one in regards to the upcoming fixtures we have, especially the Europa League on Thursday, Prague on Thursday. What do you guys think?
It's a proper weird time to play a fixture because, we've had this international break, but Liverpool, I think, had the weekend before that off as well because they weren't in the cup. But they've also then got the Champions League midweek as well. And I think for Liverpool, that is now their the only tournament to save their season. I still think they probably could get top four in the league, but I think they see the Champions League as a real route to get back into the tournament. So it will be interesting because Jota's back for them as well. And they look like, I think they won right before the international break as well. So it might be a really awkward time to play them, but it's possible that Klopp might rest some players they've got Real Madrid in the Champions League, right?
Yeah.
So is that next week as well?
Yeah, it's next weekend or in midweek. Yeah. So I think the only hope we have, not only hope, but if they do rest players, maybe we do have a chance, but it's going to be very tough. And I think I would have loved to play Liverpool 2 or 3 weeks ago, or 3 or 4 weeks ago. Maybe less so now.
I think, completely. I think I agree with that. Don't think with having one eye on Champions League will mean they might not go all out against us, or 50-50s. They might back away from it. And I think if I was Arteta, if you're not 100% fit if Saka and ESR are not 100% fit, I wouldn't risk it. It's not. I think with the context of where we are in the season, it's not a game where we should be risking players if they're not 100%. And also there's an opportunity for someone like Pepe or Willian or Martinelli to step in there and, put their hand up, sort of show Arteta what they can do. So in a way, them, not being available might be a sort of a blessing for that in that sense. So no, I wouldn't risk it. I think Arteta would.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting that you guys have think that about Liverpool, really, because I think kind of the opposite. I think that, like you said, Aaron, they've had a pretty lengthy break. I don't really look at I don't think that Liverpool are looking at their season or looking at what they've got left of the season and necessarily going to prioritise the Champions League. I mean, they're only, I could be wrong, I haven't got the table in front of me. I think they're only 5 points off the top
5
four?
points. Yeah, 5 points.
I mean, you probably expect, I think Chelsea have got West Brom before we play Liverpool. So you'd probably at home as well. So you'd probably expect that to become 8 points before they play. But I mean, 5 points, they haven't turned into a bad team. They've obviously gone through a pretty bad run, but you wouldn't put it past them to sort of turn a corner and potentially go on a run to get them close, or at least close enough to be challenging for the top four, touching distance basically. Come the last few games of the season. I think the fact that they've had quite a lengthy break means I can't really see him resting anyone. Maybe one or two, but you probably expect a full strength front three. Jota, or he might. Firmino's been in and out of the team, I think, recently. But either way, you can't really say who's first choice there. They've obviously got their centre-back problems, so they're going to be forced into playing whoever they play at centre-back. They're going to play Alisson, Trent, Robertson. I can't really sense. I'd be quite surprised if he took this game or prioritised the Madrid game over this one. I think he's going to come to the Klopp, that is, come into this game and think, if they come to the Emirates and win, they've got a great chance of top four.
I think that they wouldn't have liked the international break coming when it did, because they had lost the 2 Premier League games and they won a Premier League game, and then suddenly the international break happened. I think for them, it's quite a long break, as Aaron, you pointed out. Like, I think there's quite a big gap between when they played and when they are going to play us. Fine, Klopp may have done some work behind the scenes trying to understand some of their issues, but ultimately, after a win, you probably want to carry on, don't you? And so I think it's a bit of. I almost agree with bits of what you've all said. Like, I think that I agree that actually they're probably looking at the Champions League going, we're still in this competition. This is still a genuine route into Champions League football. And although they aren't that many points off top four, I think when they look at the teams above them, it's hard to imagine that enough teams slip up to allow them to get in there, because it's not just about them putting a bunch of results together, is it? It's like about the teams above them having to, So I mean,
it's mainly Chelsea, really, because I think Chelsea are the team that are 5 points ahead. They're playing West Brom Saturday morning. They win that. To be fair, that game is a big game. If they win that, it's an 8-point lead with the game in hand. If they lose that, it changes the whole complexion of the league, right? And from a Liverpool perspective, and then they'll think.
I mean, it's not even just. I agree with that. I think just. If Liverpool, like you said, Roger, just won their last game, was it Wolves, I think. And if they could potentially, like if they come to the Emirates and beat us, and they could go on a run, you'd probably say you'd give them a better chance of finishing above West Ham and Spurs. I haven't looked at their run-ins, to be fair, so I don't know what games they've got left.
I've just pulled it up, actually. The only tough real game they've got is Man United away.
Okay.
And then they've got other very winnable games.
Spurs are very iffy this season, and West Ham as good as they've been.
Chelsea, look, they've turned a corner. Right?
Yeah, I'm not saying it's going to be hard. I was just addressing the point that I think Aaron and then Nero, you said about, he might prioritise the Madrid game over this one, or prioritise the Champions League, like the Champions League as well. Maybe you can't really at quarterfinal stage. You can't really put all your eggs in that basket because there's so many good teams left. They're not, they're not one of the best teams left in it, although they've got such a great tradition in the competition. They're not necessarily one of the best teams or informed teams left in it. So it'd be quite, I don't know, I'd be quite surprised, to be honest, if he's thinking like that already.
Maybe not necessarily as Klopp, but like I said, like the players themselves as well. I think you look at the play after an international break, you've got an Arsenal in a league game, or you've got Real Madrid Champions League quarterfinal. I think the players naturally are going to be a bit more pumped up for that game. And then I'm not saying their heads are not going to be in the Arsenal game, but back in their mind, it's the Tuesday Champions League showdown with Real Madrid. They don't want to get injured.
But you could say the same for our players, really, couldn't you? Sitting in 9th place, and they've got a big Europa League quarterfinal game on Thursday.
Yeah, I think the intangible things are, if you look at Liverpool's squad, the fact that they have come off winning the league, it's very hard to motivate yourself to be like, we're going to, what I mean more actually, is like from where they are now to be like, let's work really hard and we might be able to finish in the top 4.
Yeah. It's whereas you can win the Champions League, it's different, right? You're winning it's winning Europe. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Liverpool and Europe have always had that romance there as well, haven't they? So
Exactly.
Probably-
A lot of that is down to Anfield, right? And there's no
It
fans,
is.
so that does
Yeah.
make a big difference as well.
Yeah, I take
Another
back
factor.
what I said, Miles. I don't think
Oh.
they will rest.
You want me to edit
No,
this
no,
bit out?
yeah,
Yeah.
can we start again? Can we start again? So I don't think they're going to rest players,
Okay, yeah.
but I don't think they're going to rest players. But what might happen is if it gets to 75 minutes and
Yeah,
it's,
okay.
they're winning or 0-0, or even if they're like we're winning,
So any result.
They'd want to freshen. Yeah, you're right. They
I
want
think Salah might come off.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah,
they might
okay,
give Salah
okay.
75 minutes.
They'd want their fresh players
because actually, when you've had 3 weeks off, you actually need a game to get that rhythm back.
True.
Like we especially Arsenal fans, we're obsessed by like giving players rest because all of our players always get injured. But actually, after about a week, extra rest doesn't actually make much of a difference. You just need
And
to
we've done quite
play
well.
games. Yeah,
We've done quite well with when it's been congested fixtures.
yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, I don't
had
know
a
why. I
good
think it's
squad,
back
though.
from like Wenger. Wenger was obsessed with like rest days, I think, and we're like mentally conditioned to like worry about players' rest. But after about 4 or 5 days, these players want to play again. And when you haven't played for about 3 weeks, the last thing you want to do is go straight into a Champions League game against Real Madrid, and you almost want a warm-up game to find that rhythm beforehand.
But the interesting thing that you guys is that when we talk about these other teams that are above in the league, I still worry about Tottenham though, because I think I almost feel like when Tottenham lost to Zagreb, well, when they got knocked out by Zagreb, and when we beat them, it kind of created a little bit of a narrative on, oh, look, Tottenham actually aren't very good, and this, that, and the other. And obviously, we like to say those things. Yeah, but they're still won 4 out of their last 5 Premier League games.
Yeah.
Like they're still doing well, and as I said, like 4 out of 5 games is. I mean, are they? Who's done better than that over the last few games? Not many. Man City, yeah, Man City have got
4.
yeah. So like that's still pretty decent. Chelsea haven't lost under Tuchel, so I guess that's what I mean in terms of like with Liverpool, they're probably looking above and go, it is going to be tricky. And I think as a group of players, it's that I feel that the more motivated group of players that are going to come into this fixture or this weekend is going to be the Arsenal group. Yeah. And that's not saying that we are better than them. That's not the case. It's just more that I think our group are probably looking at it going, do you know what? We can finish top 6, and like that's quite a realistic thing still. We feel quite good. We're in quite a good place technically. We feel like we're coming on a decent journey. Liverpool, I feel like are probably still a bit like, what has happened to us this season? Mm-hmm. They're probably
it's a
still
hangover, isn't it? Really, they're still hangover from last year. The last 2 seasons of success.
Yeah, I think they'll be quite happy to be coming to us, really, as opposed to playing at Anfield. Like they've been awful at Anfield this season, haven't they?
True.
Yeah.
True.
Might even suit them. Yeah. I kind of hope in terms of how we're going to set up and what Arteta's thinking is I hope it's not a game where he thinks, let's play El Neni. I hope it's not a game where he holds back. Basically, I really want him to go for it, because if you do go at Liverpool, they can be got at. But we can, and you can clearly see from the last few games we've seen the improvement since Christmas, and we're scoring goals now. Ødegaard is doing his thing, and it's definitely a game that we can win. So I just hope that Arteta approaches it like that and goes for it.
Or based on last game, it's not just what Arteta sets out; it's whether the players respond to his tactics and his instructions as well. So I just hope that we come out firing straight away. It's just we're not completely inconsistent and play first half shit football.
We've almost completely forgotten about the craziness of the West Ham game.
That's the thing. I don't. Yeah, even if Arteta gets his tactics spot on, it's just whether the players respond to it. I think that's the important thing.
Isn't it? Because when you look at the result, the West Ham 3-3, it's such a different context of if we were 3-0 up and it was then 3-3, then but the way that you feel like, if you're the players, you probably feel like, guys, we can really do something good, when it all comes together. And also I think we've been okay in the big games. It seems like the guys are focused in the big games. I think the problem is, though, ultimately we just can't be complacent over Liverpool at all, because they are such a good team still, and they are they're still a better team than we are. And they've got fantastic players, and they've got a decent record against us. So we just have to. We have to, one, treat it like a big game, but 2, treat it with kind of the belief that we can get things out of these big games. And I think both those things are important to do.
So would you guys be upset if we drew the game on Saturday?
I was going to say it's quite hard to answer that because, like Raj was saying, it all depends on the nature of the draw. If it's a good performance, and I mean, it's not a game where I'd say I'd take a draw before the game, but I don't think a draw is a bad result because at the end of the day, right, in the league, we're not. Top four's gone, right, and it's maybe top six, that kind of position we're looking at, and worst case is we don't get it, and I don't think any of us will be overly unhappy if we don't finish in the top six or the Europa League places. Obviously, it does have consequences, and we're all kind of looking at the Europa League as the competition that we really, really need to go for. So I think, in terms of it, I mean, if you look at it like this, the 3 games, the Spurs, West Ham, and Liverpool games, if we come out with that'll be 5 points. It's not bad. Yeah. I don't know. Would you guys have taken 5 points from the start of those? At the start of those 3 games?
Yeah, I mean, I think even when we said at the time, when we tried to predict the results, I think so. But again, it's all about the games and how the games themselves play out. And I agree exactly to your point, Miles, where I think that on paper you draw against Liverpool, fine, and I think in the context of our season where we are now, okay, but when you see, the thing is with us, like, you see the performances that we, against, for example, when we went Leicester away, Man United away, Chelsea at home, you see how, like, against good sides, if we can turn it on, we can really do some damage. And I feel like we're in a good place attacking wise. It just needs a good 90-minute performance. I think if we put in a really good 90-minute performance, then I'll be really disappointed if we don't beat Liverpool. But I feel like we just haven't really seen a good 90-minute performance, have we? So
but we don't need a 90. I think most teams, they don't have a 90-minute performance. They'll play good in patches, but for us, we can be very good at the same time, very bad. We just, like, if we're not playing well, we just need to understand the situation of the game. We're not just, don't lose their heads, don't start panicking. If the game's against us, just be mentally strong and hold the position. And if we can do that during bad patches and then play good and score, then that's fine. I don't think we need to be 90 minutes consistently just smashing it out.
I think I actually think usually I say it depends on how we play, but I think Saturday probably more depends on which Liverpool turn up. I think if for whatever reason, last season's Liverpool turn up, and I don't know if Jota will play, but Salah, Mane, Firmino, whoever out of those 4 play, and they turn it on, they have the potential to beat us and beat us comfortably. If this season's Liverpool turn up and we play as we have been over the last 7 or 8 games, I think we win relatively comfortably. So I actually think, it's more going to be down to what Liverpool turn up than what Arsenal turn up. Yeah, which is quite refreshing for a change, because usually it's, which Arsenal are you going to get?
It'd be good to get back-to-back wins against them at home, though. I don't think we've done that since 2015.
Did we beat them last season?
So, we beat them at home. It was after, I think, was it? I can't remember. It was after, league, right at the end. Yeah, right at the end of the season.
We beat them. They didn't care. They didn't care.
Doesn't matter, mate. It wins a win, mate. Doesn't matter. Yeah. But back to your point, Nimai, if you told me before 5 points from them 3 games, I think that's, you'd take that all day long.
Considering we're a mid-table team at the moment, you probably would, right? 3 teams above us in the league.
I would, for me, the draw is fine. I just don't want any injuries. I think that's probably, at this stage of the season, that's more of the most important thing. Just don't get anyone injured.
I think, I guess to the injuries point, right? Like, it's really weird, Arteta's comments about the game, because he sort of said, they asked him, do you have any injury concerns? He goes, I got no major injury concerns. And then went on to say, I'm not sure about Saka, I'm not sure about ESR, which is really weird, because if you're not, those are 2 starting players, and you're basically saying, like, I'm not sure if 2 of my starting players are going to start, which is, to me, sounds like they are big injury concerns, right? So I hope, I kind of hope the words weren't not necessarily taken out of context, but I think it seemed to indicate that he was suggesting that they haven't been assessed since coming back from their respective places. And I'm hoping that's it. And with ESR, I'm not really sure what the status of ESR's kind of injury was.
Hip thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's interesting, is it? Because you have to take it with a bit of a pinch of salt, sorry, because I think with Saka, I'd probably expect him to at least be on the bench. I'm not really basing that on much, but he's obviously had a couple of weeks to get over whatever the problem was. They haven't said, and I think in that 2 weeks, they would have known if it's a serious enough problem that he's just not going to make the game. But he also said that he's not trained with the main group. So I don't know. I feel like he's more likely to play than ESR. ESR seems to have more injury problems generally, doesn't he? He's been,
I wouldn't risk it personally. Yeah, if they're not,
I
don't risk it.
Not for exactly. Like we know what the priority is now, I guess, for us this season. Okay, cool. And I'd be good to just have a chat then about in terms of on the pitch, really, where you think we might win and where you think we could potentially win the game, or where the game might be lost.
I remember last time when we lost to them earlier this season, it felt like Tierney really struggled that game. And I don't know if it was because of him, but it was just we were not able to stop the balls coming in, those kind of diagonal balls coming in. And it felt like that was an area, like Liverpool did exploit those wide areas. So I really hope that, and I believe Arteta would, because he seems like he's quite good at these things, to like run the tape and figure out a plan for that not to happen again. But I hope that the players execute whatever that is. And it feels like they've started, since we lost to Liverpool back then, we've started doing this strategy of Xhaka kind of drops into this kind of left centre-back area, and that seems to be this mitigant. So, I wonder if that will work and if that will then stem that issue. And then I think really in the middle of the park, not a lot of play goes through the middle of the park, but if we can dominate that area and just stop Liverpool running it as an engine room, and maybe we do that with Partey and Xhaka, it will be really interesting though, because it's tough though when you have two central midfielders playing against the three, and how you end up, how you manipulate that space.
Yeah, you talk about that first game at Anfield, and it's funny because Liverpool were really good that day. I remember their pressing was insane. We could barely get out at periods because, that was the Liverpool of old, where they were confident, they were pressing, they were closing down the space. Every time Xhaka got the ball, I can't remember who it was, but they were always giving, Xhaka no time. And you know what Xhaka's like when he has no time on the ball and is pressed, he struggles a bit. And when we did get out, they shut us down, and the defenders shut us down as well. I'm not sure if Van Dijk was around at that point. Maybe it was pre his injury. I'm not sure.
I think it was pre. I think he played, because I remember how we were trying to press, and then to beat the press, he just pinged these 70-yard across the.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Van Dijk was unreal that day. It was ridiculous. They were really good, and I just remember thinking, like, we've never probably faced a press like that Liverpool press in training, and the players probably just didn't know how to react. So I would hope we're a bit better prepared for that kind of stuff now that we're probably used to teams pressing us and hopefully trying to beat that press. And I think that's what it will come down to. And again, like, if it's a Liverpool of old where they do press us like that, we'll have to be on our game. And even then, I think we'll struggle. But, the Liverpool's pressing, they seem to not press so much. They've slightly changed the system they play. So it'll be interesting. But like I said, now that I think Fabinho's back as well, Liverpool are just a much better team than they were 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Do you think, I can't think it was Raj who was saying about the two in midfield for us versus their three. Do you think that it's a game that Willian might start? Because obviously he tends to come in a bit more centrally, he might offer that extra support for central midfield. I know that's not his position, his area, but just to have that kind of extra body in case we need it when we don't have the ball.
If we do that, it would feel like Arteta really is trying to stop us from losing rather than winning, I feel like, because ultimately I think if we're going to win, then we need to exploit the attacking potential that we can play when we have three technicians playing behind a striker. Like, we're going to need Odegaard, and we're going to need wide players who can do something. I think, and maybe that's a bit harsh on Willian, but it feels like if we are going to play Willian because we want Willian to tuck in and we want it to be more robust, I just wonder what our capacity is to actually win the game. Yeah.
And it's interesting because Liverpool do. I haven't watched Liverpool in the very recent games. I didn't see them against Wolves, but they do like to play that high line. And on paper at least, you'd think if Odegaard can find that space, you could see Aubameyang, Saka trying to get him behind. If it's not Saka, perhaps Pepe. So yeah, this is where I think, but I'm not sure if Liverpool will play as high a line as they usually do. And to be honest, I'm not sure if they still play that system where they do press up as high, and maybe they've started to drop a bit deeper now. But if they do play that high line, there's certainly a way that we can get in behind and exploit them.
Yeah, I thought would Lacazette start? I saw when you mentioned that, then you think, Aubameyang for a high line will be the best player. But I thought, especially with the injuries to Saka and ESR, I thought Aubameyang will probably start on the wing with Lacazette up front. Might be the alternative option.
I think if Saka's, it maybe depends on if Saka's fit or not, really. I mean, you're going to
as well,
and Smith Rowe, yeah. Be interesting to see.
I think both defenses this season have defenses / keepers for both teams this season have been suspect. So it's hopefully it's not us. Hopefully it's not us.
Who's been suspect? Our keeper, did you say?
No, not just our keeper. Alisson's made a lot of mistakes lately. I think there's been a lot of mistakes from both defenses this season. So that could be a place where the game is, won or lost. So I think it'd be good to just keep testing there, especially with Van Dijk out there. Defensive issues we just need to from the first minute just test their defense, test their keeper, and hopefully, Leno can have a good game, because I can imagine them. I can imagine them going for it as well. So,
okay, yeah. So on that note, I guess, what do we think then, boys, in terms of outcome of the game, scoreline? Aaron.
I'll be optimistic. I'll go for a 2-1 win.
He's optimistic.
I don't know what my prediction record is like this season.
I've got a record somewhere, and I'm going to pull it out at the end of the season.
I think I'm not doing so well, so maybe I need to be more optimistic.
Can you predict a loss then?
I predicted a loss. I don't know what I said against West Ham. I think I said 2-2 against West Ham.
Draw,
but no, I'm going to be more optimistic today and go Arsenal win.
Okay, 2-1. Yeah. Nero?
2-2.
Raj?
I think we're going to lose.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh.
I'm going to go for a loss, and I'm going to say 1-0. We're going to lose.
Interesting. Do you think that's going to be a defensive blunder again, or do you think they're just going to be the better team, or are you picturing anything?
I can picture them scoring early.
Okay.
In the first 10 minutes, and then I can just picture us struck. For some reason, I'm visualizing in my mind us really struggling to get any flow, and being kind of a bit lackluster in that kind of final third. Maybe that'll be a result of us going a goal down early. So that's that's my prediction.
Okay, I'm going to agree with Nero. Actually, I think it'll be 2-2 as well. These games tend to be quite high scoring. I feel like there's not very much pressure on both teams to kind of they can let loose a little bit. So I think there'll be goals, but I think it'll be another disappointing
goals and blunders. Yeah,
probably. Yeah, wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, so I'll go 2-2. Good stuff. Good chat, boys. All right, nice one. Well, we will see what happens on Saturday, and we will be bringing you a match review post Saturday. My dog's barking. He needs to go to the toilet, so we better call it there. Nice one, boys. Everyone, hope you have a great Easter. We'll catch up on or post it after the game. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.